Hello, world. You are looking lovely today. My name is Molly Brady. I am the co founder slash CEO slash director slash whatever other title you want to throw in there for the Kitchen Sink Project. And I just wanted to share with everyone a little bit today about my connection to this project's mission and the Skeleton Click and what inspired me to start this project. And there are a lot of places that I could start this story, but I think just to give you a little bit of context without going into too much detail, it would be best to start with a little bit of background information about myself. I grew up a very, very anxious child, and it began to really manifest itself when I was a teenager. I started experiencing, on top of symptoms of anxiety, I started experiencing symptoms of depression, although I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. I started struggling with self harm when I was in the eighth grade. And that was something that I continued to struggle with for many years until about my first or second year of college. And that entire time, those years of just walking through this very lonely darkness, I I never felt like I truly had a safe person or a safe space that I could go to share what was going on inside of me and the toxic things that I was thinking and feeling. I was very much afraid of being judged, of being invalidated, even. I was a little bit afraid that my person would kind of be consumed by the darkness that I was experiencing, so that instead of people seeing me as myself and seeing me for who I really am, they would just look at me and just see like depression or anxiety instead of really seeing Molly, if that makes sense. So I didn't talk about it, and my family didn't talk about it, and my school didn't talk about it, and my friends didn't talk about it, and just nobody talked about it. And so it just for years stayed inside of me and just grew and fed off of itself and fed off of the negative thoughts that I kept having. And so when I was in college, it got to a point where I was starting to plan my day and make my schedule to fit the symptoms that I was experiencing. So instead of just saying, okay, I have to go to this class, then I have to go to work, and then I have to go get lunch or whatever, I would have to put in my schedule like accommodations for, well, what if I have an anxiety attack, or what if I'm not able to control my thoughts and I start having a breakdown in the middle of class? Like, where do I go? What do I do? And I got so tired of it that I got to a very, very low point. And I remember one night sitting in my car in a parking lot, a Walmart parking lot at like 10 p.m. And that was probably the lowest point that I've hit in my personal struggles. I think I was about 20 or 21. It was 10 p.m. I was sitting in this Walmart parking lot, and I wasn't even crying. I just felt so empty. There was nothing. There was no sadness, there was no fear, there was no, I mean, it just literally felt like nothingness. And that was something that I had experienced for a long time, but it was just so heavy in that moment that I thought to myself, I can't do this anymore. Like, something has to change, because I can't continue to live my life dealing with this. And so I was finally able to get some support and help through my college campus. And after about a year or so, maybe a little longer than that, 18 months, I was doing a lot better, and I was at a point where I could manage things in a more healthy way, a more positive way, to where I could get through the day and be fine. And I was finally able to start focusing on, what I wanted to do after I graduated, and I was actually excited about life for the first time in a very, very long time. And so I think going through those struggles, especially at the age that I did, is kind of what really inspired me to go into the mental health field. And so I got my master's degree in school counseling, and I graduated in 2018. And I became a K through 8 school counselor in a small town in Missouri. And holy cow, that experience was so very eye-opening to me, because I knew going into this part of my life, I knew very well that there were a lot of kids who were struggling and a lot of teens who were struggling with issues and very, very deep, intense issues that adults did not like to talk about, whether that was because they were uncomfortable or because they were scared. It just wasn't talked about. And so I went into this field with the hope that I could be that safe person, that safe space that these students could come to, especially at school, because that's where kids spend most of their day anyway. So, I might as well just go right in there and be a support in the place where they spend most of their time. But I very, very quickly found out that it was a much bigger problem than I suspected, than I imagined it would be. I had students very frequently, I probably couldn't go through a 2-week period without having a student come to me with these very intense self-doubts and struggles and just losing their will to live, and just it was very heartbreaking to me, but it was also very motivating for me, because I could not stand to see these kids who I saw so much potential in look at themselves and just see failure and nothingness and just no future. And a lot of what I saw was a lack of coping skills and a lack of support, especially in more rural areas where they just don't have as many resources. They just don't have as much support available to them. And so it was frustrating for me as the counselor to want to offer community support or refer them to community agencies, but realizing there was nothing nearby or nothing that could, come up to help them where they were and meet them where they were. So I did that school counseling for a year, and then I got another job in another small town, still in Missouri. And it wasn't directly counseling. It was more helping with like testing and behind the scenes stuff. So I knew that I wasn't going to be spending as much time face to face with students as I was. And that did disappoint me a little bit, because my heart truly is helping people. And I knew that I would still be doing that, but just in a less direct way.